Good morning, everyone. Sorry to be disturbing your coffee. My name is Konrad Kording. I'm professor at the University of Pennsylvania in bioengineering and neuroscience. And I'm excited to be opening the CCN 2018 conference. It's a delight to have all of you here. And I first want to tell you why Philadelphia is the right place for you to be at the moment, because we have Einstein's brain. So the Matter Museum, which I can highly recommend if you're into like really bizarre exhibits, lots of medical exhibits, does have Einstein's plastinated brain. Some corners of this discipline might believe that if we only look at it long enough, we can understand it and simulate it, which would be pretty awesome. But in any case, that's one of the reasons why it's great that you're here. We also have Pizza Brain, which apparently is a pizza shop. And another thing that I can highly recommend, we have virtual reality brains. Who's been to the Franklin Institute yet? It's seriously one of the best science museums that I know. And if you have some extra time, go check it out. It has this cool exhibit where they take a video of you and pretend that it's only your brain that's waving back. Now, after these rather pointless statements about Philadelphia, let's get right into CCN things. So, I'm incredibly thankful for the CCN steering committee that did all of this. Danny Bassett, Ali Fletcher, Kendrick Kay, Nico Kriegeskorter, Thomas Nassalaris, Kendrick Nienborg, Ross Poldrak, and Daphne Shahami, and they've been doing all the organization. And I should say one thing that is really sad is one of the person always that works the hardest is Ali Fletcher, and unfortunately she couldn't make it this year. Now, we don't only have a good steering committee, but we have an amazing advisory committee where lots of people that really have been making great impact on the field are represented, and these guys help us represent the things that we move the field forward. And I think we should all be thankful for them. Maybe we should give them a round of applause. Let's have some applause for the advisory committee. Okay, so let me talk about why I think it's so cool that we're getting together as a field. So at least me personally, I've always been interested in these three fields. I've been interested in artificial intelligence because that's how you actually build things. That's what it means for me to like, deeply understand something. I've also always been interested in cognitive science because that's where the real problems are at some level. Yeah, image recognition is kind of cool, but the things that people do is what's really interesting. And people do so much more than any of these simple tasks. And obviously, I'm interested in neuroscience. Like, hey, that's why I get up in the morning. It's the most interesting thing that one could ever do. Now, there's, of course, all those interactions. Now, there's artificial intelligence and cognitive science. How do we build algorithms that solve hard problems? Which algorithms are people using to solve hard problems? And interactions in all three directions exist. But I think CCN covers, at least for me, that unique sweet spot that has all of it. From cognitive science at some level, we have the interesting problems, the real problems, the problems that make life interesting and exciting. From neuroscience, we have like, well, we look at how the brain actually does it. It gets us towards a mechanistic understanding. And from artificial intelligence, we have the glue that holds it together, the way of being able to formulate it in concrete mathematical and computational terms. And I think the kickoff that we had last year was truly exciting, and this year, with the speakers that we have, promises to push that even one step further and be even more exciting. So, a little navel gazing is always some fun when we look at our own community. So in trying to analyze what we've been doing, and I should say this was with Kendrick and a lot of other people on the leadership team here, we looked at publication data across time. So what we did, very simple Google search, we said from 1985 to 1990, how many papers have been published that use the word neuroscience? And how many papers have been published that say use the words artificial intelligence? And how many of them use the words cognitive science? And the first good news is artificial intelligence is now a thing. And as opposed to how it was in the 1990s, where we would have completely dwarfed artificial intelligence, now those two communities are very similar in size. And cognitive science as a community has also been developing tremendously. And it's been growing rather dramatically since about the 2000s. And I don't know where that declined before that happened. But now what we have is we have these three communities that are clearly thriving and that form the basis of CCN. Now, the fact that the three component communities are big doesn't mean that the field as a combination is making real progress. So therefore, we pushed further in the analysis and asked how the field as a whole is evolving. And then what we did is we calculate the dice coefficient, which is at some level how frequent is the combination of certain things. And we can ask how frequently relative is the combination of cognitive science and artificial intelligence based on what we should expect based on the sizes of the two communities. How common is the combination of cognitive science and neuroscience? How common is artificial intelligence and neuroscience? And how common is the combination of all of them? And look, for the combination of cognitive science and artificial intelligence, the old times were great. So apparently cognitive science and artificial intelligence really were very close to one another. Then we lost that link. It's probably because AI got to be a community that had its own objectives, its own deliverables. But look, since 2010 roughly, the combination started to become attractive again. And but if we look at cognitive science and neuroscience, it's been rising steadily since the 95 roughly. And we can look at the combination of AI and neuroscience. And look, it's been growing extremely rapidly since 2000. What's a little hard to see here is that the combination of all three of them is really an area that is making a great deal of progress over the last couple of years. So the community that we're in is growing, and it's growing because there's a real problem at the intersection between those three fields. And that is why it's great to be at CCN, and this is why it's great that you're all here with us this week. Now, after doing a little look at the field, it's time for the Best Paper Awards. And let me just put them up here. So we have two papers receiving the Best Paper Awards this year. The first one is From Pixels to Scene Categories, Unique and Early Contributions of Functional and Visual Features. And if I could ask the authors, or one of the authors, to come up to get the award, that would be great. Congratulations. We go back a long time together. We were at MIT together. How long ago was that? 15 years ago, when I was still like this big, no? So there's one for each author. Let me. Hold on. No, this is definitely has your name on it, but this definitely doesn't. And this one doesn't either. Ah, and here's another one. Great. Okay, it's a beautiful paper. And the second winner of the Best Paper Award is Neural Population Control via Deep Artificial Neural Network Image Synthesis by Puyu Bashivan, Kohitich Ka, and Jim DiCarlo. Why don't we have one of the authors up here? Congratulations, amazing paper.
Thank you.
And here's for each of your co-authors the awards.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So it was a delight to read the papers. I looked into a lot of them this year. It's amazing the breadth and depth of papers that we're covering here. Now I want to go through the various parts that make this conference. First, I want to talk about the parts that have already finished, which is the tutorials. I heard great things about them. Sam and Anne gave a great tutorial about cognitive science. Manish talked about computational neuroscience, and Danilo Rezende talked about artificial intelligence. And let's thank all the tutorial speakers. I have a lot more things coming up here. Next is keynote speakers. We have an amazing set of keynotes this year. Alison Gopnik, Ryan Adams, Josh McDermott, Tim Lillicrap, Marlene Cohen, Eero Simoncelli, and Danny Bassett are giving the big keynotes. So let's thank them again. Okay, so the session we talked about so far are relatively standard sessions. A lot of good conferences will have them. But we tried this year that we'd be mixing it up a little bit because we're a community coming from 3 different angles, and therefore it's particularly important that we get together and that we do things that really foster this dialogue across the disciplines. So we do 3 special sessions this year. And let's first talk about the mind matching thing. So I'm always trying to meet additional people, and I'm always trying to get people in my lab to meet additional people. And it's hard because there's so many people with different names, and my name memory is absolutely horrible. So we try to do something that helps people meet the right kind of people. So what we are doing is we do the mind matching session. It's 90 minutes. It will be 6 sessions. In each session, each participant was assigned by a computer algorithm to meet the person that's in a way, or meet the people that are as similar to them as possible. So people submitted an abstract with that we can estimate what roughly the things are that they find interesting. And they were also allowed to say, well, actually, I would very much like to meet that person. And we tried to make that happen. It was often hard to make that happen. And someone has a question, but there's no way I would understand it from here. So the way it will work, we'll all be in one room. Every table has a number, and if you look at your name tags, it will have a list of things at the bottom. The things that it has on the bottom are which table you'll be in which order. So if I might have 1, 7, 8, 2, it means first session I'll be in table 1. Second session I'll be in table 7. Third session I'll be in table 8. So the idea is that we'll talk for 15 minutes with that person. So we quickly need to find out what's interesting about them. So we need to make sure that we get a description of the research that we do and the research that they do, and in particular the part of the research that's mutually interesting. And then we'll have 2 minutes to run to the other table. And I'm going to be there with a stopwatch, and I'll be 3, 2, 1, run. And then we'll see the last person sit in. No, I'm just kidding. And I should thank Titi Pat-Achakuvilsut for actually making the entire algorithm, and he's been running all of that. And if anyone wants to already see who they're meeting now, there is this short URL at the bottom here. It is case sensitive, but it has for every person the list of people that they will meet on it. Great. That's the mind matching session. So the idea is that you'll meet a good number of people that will be somewhat relevant for you to talk to. And this is the first time we're doing it. So I want all of you who participate to find me afterwards and tell me what works and what doesn't work, and if there's a way of making this really be a useful thing. The second one is we'll have a challenges and controversies session featuring Jack Gallant, Dan Yamans, and Hugh Quinn. And the idea there is that we want these guys to engage with what the various communities bring to the table and see where are we going? How can we help one another? What does it mean for us to succeed as a community? I think this will be very, all three of them are known to have opinions, and so I'm pretty sure this will be a spectacular session. And that's how we selected them. The last thing is we will have cross-collaboration breakouts, where we will do 7 sessions total. We have 90 minutes each on Friday and Saturday, and we will have concurrent sessions, 3 on Friday, 4 on Saturday, and now you get to decide what group is the right group for you to participate in. And I want to thank all this, and now each of these breakout sessions have their own organizers, they have their own people who are responsible for making this be a useful debate. And I want to thank all of them. We had a great number, we have great volunteers. So let's give the cross-collaboration breakout leaders a round of applause here. Yeah, I have more people and groups to thank. These are our official sponsors. We're sponsored by NSF, ONR, DeepMind, Microsoft, the Kavli Foundation, Facebook Reality Labs, and they remind me that I should tell you that they're hiring, plus Computational Biology, Nature Machine Intelligence, and Princeton University Press. And if they weren't there, then this would be a considerably more expensive conference for all the participants, so we should all be very thankful for them. So let's give them a round of applause. Nice. Now we have even more. We have the CCN 2008 Student Travel Award recipients. I won't go through every one of them, but let's congratulate them for having been selected for this award. Okay, so with this, I'm excited that the CCN conference is starting. I look forward to listening to the talks in the various areas and broadening my horizon there. And just to coming back to the original thing, the famous sculpture probably here in Philadelphia is Rocky. It's kind of a bad example for the conference because it's all about fighting. I think in the same way that people get together when boxing, we should get together in a far more enjoyable pursuit, which is collaborating and listening. With that, thank you. And CCN 2018 is now officially opened.